Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
Talk about consistent. I watch this guy consistently, game in, game out, practice in, practice out. I don't care if it's practice or a game. He was always terrific when I watched him. Trace McSorley, welcome. Great to have you back.
Hey, Steve. Appreciate you having me back on here.
Hey, by the way, I think your dad just had a birthday, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, good. Wish him my best, okay?
Yeah, I will for sure.
Awesome,
I appreciate that.
Awesome guy. All right, you're watching the Super Bowl. When you watch a game, and you're not playing in it, do you watch the game as a quarterback or do you watch the game as a fan?
I try to watch the game as much as a fan, especially, when I'm not playing, because so much of, what I'm doing is trying to dissect and, watch the game from a quarterback's perspective. So when I can, I do try and just watch it as a fan. But it's hard not to a little bit. You get into that. You're just so used to, watching film and games up on the projector, and you're constantly you have your rhythm and what you go through and the process when you're watching film. And it's hard to, when a game's on TV and you're just watching it as a fan, it's hard to not slip into that a little bit. So definitely try to just enjoy it and watch as a fan, but I'll catch myself every now and then, seeing something and trying to dissect it.
All right, so take me from a quarterback's point of view. When Stafford and the Rams start the 15-play drive, when you're in that spot and you're in that huddle, and you pretty much know this is probably it, even though there's 5 minutes to go, whatever. What is your mindset as a quarterback? Are you play-by-play? Are you 2 plays ahead? Take us through what you're thinking.
Yeah, you want to be able to anticipate, obviously, what the defense will do, but you can't, trying to think too far ahead, you'll miss something during the play that you're in. So, really kind of just got to take it one play at a time, and, really just situationally think about what you're going to run into. You might run into a 2-minute situation here. There's a chance at that point in the game you got to deal with, a 4th down play. So a play where you got to have it. You might end up dealing with down the line of the drive, having to think, conserve time, get chunk plays. You'll need to. So those type of things, those situations, you'll have already gone over with your coach probably ahead of time. But those are some of the things that situationally you got to be prepared and understand what could happen. But when the plays are coming in and when you're playing the game, you just got to focus on the play ahead and take what's there, stay ahead of things, and not get behind the sticks. And that's the thing in that situation that'll really kill you. So those are some of the things that you just think about.
Now here comes an out of left field question for you. In college, in pro football, you obviously have a helmet. They can talk to you, and I think they can talk to you up until 15 seconds on the play clock or something like that.
Yep.
Right? In college football, they have to signal the plays in, or however they want to do it. Should college football have transmitters and helmets for quarterbacks?
I think it's definitely been something that I've enjoyed. I think it's made it a little bit easier.
Yes.
Having that headset in there. So, I think it's definitely it's got pluses and minuses to it, but I've enjoyed it. I like having the headset in there and being able to, just get the play call that way. Even if you do want to signal something, it still comes in and you signal it out.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think it's something that is one less thing you got to think about is you don't have to sit and go over signals, at signal meetings and stuff like that. You kind of just have to, it'll come up when it comes up, but it's not a huge part of your game plan. So I like it. It's just, it'll be one other thing that the NCAA and the conferences will have to monitor. Someone's got to be there, just the logistics behind it all. How do you shut it off? How do you keep the frequencies clean? That type of stuff that's probably where they won't get into it. But from my perspective, I actually enjoy having the headset and the helmet.
All right. The last time we had you on, I asked you about Lamar Jackson because and you spoke glowingly about being around him, what you learn from him, plus what he learned from you too, believe me, because they learned stuff from you too. Now you're in a room with Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy. Kyler being young, McCoy being a veteran along the way. Along the way, what have you now picked up being in that room that adds to your knowledge of the game?
Yeah, I mean, so just starting with Kyler, I think he's a guy that he's been so successful, and through his process and at every level he's been at, high school, college, wherever he played at, whatever sport he was playing, he was always successful. So really just seeing him and the standard he holds himself to, how competitive he is, everything for him is competition. There's always a winner and loser, and he holds himself to that standard of always winning. And I think that's something that you have to be able to be around it and see it to understand exactly what the level is. And then really just how he sees the field, how he's able to manipulate defenses. That type of stuff is something that I think, I had seen before, but seeing how he does it, it's definitely something that I've been able to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a guy like Colt, who's every situation that could possibly come up in a game, he's experienced. As successful he was in college, as his career in the NFL, as long as he's been in the league, he's been in so many different systems and been around so many different guys. He's one of those guys that guys kind of just flock towards him. Mm-hmm. And how he carries himself, how he is in the locker room, he relates to everybody. He can have conversations with everybody, and then seeing him go out in the field and just operate, and he operates like you would expect a veteran to operate it. He's in command the entire time, and those type of things, and how he breaks down film, what he looks at when he looks at the game plan, how he makes his list, right? Third down favorite plays, red zone favorite plays, how he wants to start the game. Really just kind of getting into his process pregame and preparation process is something that I think is super helpful to be around a guy like that.
Talked with Grant Haley the other day, and of course Grant was with the Giants, and then he was with the Saints, and then he ended up with the Rams. And I've said many times on this show that I think the guys I admire more than anybody else are the guys that have the ability that always keep their career alive. Grant's been able to keep his career alive. He has a Super Bowl ring. Other players I can cite along the way, Nate Stupar here from State College, he's spent 8 years in the league. You're keeping your career alive. Every time I turn around, you're someplace. So now you're with Arizona. What does it take every year for you to always make sure that you're keeping your career alive and keeping yourself relevant for organizations to say, we need to have him be a part of us?
I think there's things that you kind of always have to be able to bring to the table, and always being an asset to wherever you're at, to the team, to the position room that you're in. I think those things are always imperative, but it's a lot of it is being able to show your skill set wherever you can. So if that's in practice, being able to get out there in preseason and show skill set some way, somehow, and kind of having that willingness to get out there and do things a little bit differently than you see a lot, like the path of a lot of other people taking. And really just a lot of it is being able to keep moving forward and kind of stay positive and deal with that adversity, because it's definitely gets stressful when every day you're fighting for your life in the NFL, and you're fighting for your job, and you get into that point in camp where everyone gets a little bit tense because jobs are going to be lost, and dreams, careers ended, and everyone gets a little bit tense during that time. So it's being able to handle that stress and the realization of everything that it is, and that every single day could be your last day, and nothing's ever guaranteed unless you're one of the 22 starters.
Right.
It's one of those things that you just have being able to keep fighting and keep doing your job and being able to perform in a situation like that. And I think those are things like Grant does really well. And you never know when opportunity comes, but when that opportunity does come for him, he takes advantage of it, and he makes the most out of every single one.
Yeah, no, it's remarkable the way some guys have been able to do that, and I have great admiration for that because you're right. The stress level is so high where you feel like you're always the guy that's on the edge. You've been through a John Harbaugh system. You've been through Cliff Kingsbury. Give me the positives of both that they bring to the table as a coach that you like.
Yeah, I mean, so with Cliff, I think how he sees the field offensively, how he wants to attack, especially in our passing game. I think it's something that he wants to play with that tempo. Kind of goes back to a little bit of what I was used to in college, being able to just get the ball in the playmaker's hands and get explosive plays down the field, how he sees the field, how he tries to attack coverages, and really just kind of that mentality that he was a quarterback, so he's got that gunslinger mentality to go out and play, and he's uber competitive, and you can, how he calls the game and how he is in meetings, you can tell he's always got that juice and that excitement to him. And that's something that in the short period of time that I was with him, it was one of those things that I really picked up on almost instantly. And then with, Coach Harbaugh, how he, carries himself, everything for him is no one's going to outwork him. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to outwork, his team and everything like that. So, everything we did was, they always had a saying, like with the Ravens, was always more, never less. And that was something that I think held true to what, he kind of preached day in and day out, and just the details in his preparation, and no one was going to out-prepare him, and no one was going to, the players weren't going to be out-prepared by the other team, and no one was going to work hard in the weight room, out on the practice field, and those kind of things. So I think that's why they've been able to be so consistent over the years, and year in, year out, they're a playoff team. Sometimes things fall one way or the other, but I think that's a big reason why that year in and year out, their approach, their preparation, their game plan for their season is so consistent, and I think that's been huge for him, and definitely something that I took from him, and being able to learn from that over a couple of years and kind of keep that as part of my process.
And I can tell everybody in no uncertain terms, nobody outworks Trace McSorley. So, all right, I can tell everybody that firsthand knowledge. Trace, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate the time you gave us today.
Yeah, no problem. Always appreciate you guys having me on.